So far, we've been making programs that were linear, just one thing after another. But we're going to go ahead and make a program that is a bit more responsive. We want a bit more flexibility with what our programs can do. Each new either data structure or command or function or algorithm, any of these new things that we learn for a programming language give us a whole lot more functionality with that same language. So let's go and begin with this one. I'm going to make a new class. I'll call it conditionals. Make those brackets. Make my main method. Save it, and we're ready to begin. Alright, now, to really best begin this, I want to think about what I'm going to do with this program. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and do the one of the standard introductory conditional exercises that we do, which is a grading program. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and just add that to the top and say it's a grading program. Now, part of this grading program is that it does need to read in information from the user. So we'll say is given user input of a grade, output the letter grade. And as such, since we're going to get the user to tell us something, I'm going to import java.util.scanner, which by getting that line in, we're able to access the scanner. The scanner is Java's way of reading in user input. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our the variables we need. We'll need a double for our score. We'll need a scanner. Right there, a scanner is a type of variable that will allow us to read in user input. I name mine INP, short for input. You can name it however you like. And I'll also do a string. And this string will be for the letter grade. Alright, I don't have to initialize anything because I'm going to get it all in just a moment. Let's go ahead and begin the program. So first off, we want to go ahead and get user input for the grade. Then we'll go ahead and determine what letter grade that score is, and then we'll output the letter grade. Now you can combine these last two steps, but I like to go ahead and break it down a little bit more for now. We'll see later where it might be better to practice like that, just because of how the AP exam might ask you questions about it, because what we might do later on is, well, between this step and that step, do some changes to our variable. Not in this activity, but in a later date. Alright, so let's begin. We're going to start off by just setting up our scanner. A scanner does have to be initialized with a certain thing before it can be used. So I go IMP equals, and then I'm going to type in the following. New scanner, because it is a new scanner, parentheses system.in. So you've used system.out for printing. Well, as you might expect, system.in is used for the reverse, where the user talks to the computer. Next up, we'll get that score. Now I get that score using my my input scanner. So go score equals imp.next double, and then that's got parentheses on it. So right there, this is something called a method. Methods are things like print, next double, anything where you see those parentheses right there. Now you might say, wait a minute, aren't those called functions? Yeah, it's the same as a function, really. Or if you're from Visual Basic procedure, they're all the same term, really. When you really get down to it, they're basically the exact same term. Just in Java, they call them methods. In Python, they're functions. In C++, they're functions. In Visual Basic, they're procedures, I believe. Yeah, they're procedures. Just those, for right now, Just accept those as being basically the same, and you'll have a very easy time using this. So I use my scanner's next double method, which goes ahead and gets in user input, compile, make sure you don't have any errors, run it, and look at that. I can receive doubles. Alright, perfect. Now let's handle the hard part. The part where we actually get letter grades. Now, we'll do this part first then. In order to determine it, we have to use what's called a conditional structure. It uses a conditional structure. This is a type of what is called a control structure. Control structures are programming structures, programming commands that change how our program runs. So that instead of just being this linear approach of just one thing after another, declare this, declare this, declare this, initialize this, all that, instead it's going to change it where certain segments of code will not actually run. We'll look at another type of control structure next week called a loop, and that's another kind of control structure that will also change it because it will make certain segments of code run several times. But for now, let's go and focus on the conditional. Conditionals are things like if, so we do if and then parentheses, and we're going to decide our very first condition here. Now, our first grade that you could possibly get is going to be, what, an A? Cool. So A is the top grade. And in fact, in my system, I'm going to include an A+. Now, an A+, I don't know for everyone's schools or everyone's classes, but an A+ in my mind is a 95 or higher. So what it'll say is if a score is greater than, see how that's a greater than symbol from math? If it's greater than or equal to, which is just simply a greater than sign and then an equal sign, if score is greater than or equal to 95, so if it's in that criteria where it's bigger than a 95, then what I'm going to do is say that letter grade, which is a string, letter grade equals A+. So, and there we go. Just like that, I've gotten a system set up where if the score is 95 or higher, we get a letter grade of A+. Now, a quick note. This could be 95. That's fine. This could be 95.0. That also works fine. The only issue would be if this was if this is just a very different data type. The fact that this is a double and 95 is just an integer is just fine. Alright, next up, we're going to do what if it's not bigger than 95, but what if it's just bigger than 90? Well, I'm going to do this first, and then I'm going to see, give you a moment and just think about whether or not there's a problem with this next thing I'm going to type. So I'm going to go if again, if score is greater than 90. Just that way, like if the score is greater than 90, well then that's an A, right? Or greater than or equal to 90, I should say. Yeah, so if a score is greater than or equal to 90, it's an A. No problem there, right? Except what is the issue here? Well, the issue is, if I put in a 95, it's going to say my letter grade is A+, which is fine. It's going to go on and say, okay, is the score bigger than 90? Bigger than or equal to? And it is. 95 is greater than or equal to 90. So it's going to say, okay, you have an A, when we wanted it to say an A+. We could see that, even, if I were to go ahead and print out the letter grade. You might get an error like this. Sorry, I totally forgot which version I was using. Scroll up real quick. Just go to letter grade up there and just set it equal to an empty string. Depending on what compiler you're using, it may or may not do this. For ours, it definitely will, especially since I don't have any what are called else statements in here yet. We'll see that in just a moment. But yeah, go ahead and put that up there so that way you can actually compile this. My apologies. Alright, but anyway, so But compile and run this. It's going to ask me for a score. If I say 92.4, it's going to tell me that's an A, which is accurate. That is exactly what I want. But then if I say something like, oh, I got 100, it's just going to say I got an A. Because what happened was, it went through here and said, yeah, score is greater than or equal to 95, so we set it equal to A+, but then, when we got to this point, we then changed it again, this time just to A. If I keep this trend going, what do you think will happen? Like if I say score is greater than or equal to 90, letter grade equals B, what will happen? Well, it's going to now tell me I have a B. You know, I could put in 100 and say, yeah, that's a B. You know, which is a weird curve. You don't usually see a curve 20 points down. You know, that's pretty unusual. Must have had someone do really well on that test. But no, but in all seriousness, you don't want this happening. This is illogical. If we get an A+, we don't want to do any of these other things, right? Because we already have the letter grade. We want to skip all this. So to add it in, I'm going to use the word else. So what I do is I have my first one is if. My second one is going to be else space if. My third one will also be else space if. You can compile that. Now, if I put in 100, it's going to show me, yeah, you got an A+. And that is accurate. That is what we wanted to do. Alright, let's keep going. So else if, I think you can see the way I'm going with this. Else if we're greater than or equal to 70, we're going to say letter grade is equal to C. And we'll keep going from there to get, I'm going to copy and paste this so it goes a little quicker. Actually, I'll take you through it step by step, just in case you're trying to catch up or keep up with me by typing it all out so you can memorize it. I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, else if. By the way, if you don't want to watch me do this, there's always the ability to speed up videos on YouTube, just so you have it. I have that. Oh, you know what? Let's pause right there. So, if I have a 95 or higher, we have an A+. If I have a 90 or higher, we have an A. If I have an 80 or higher, it's a B. 70 or higher, it's a C. 60 or higher, it's a D. But now, what about if we don't have at least a 60? Well, then we pretty much have an F. Whether it's 0, whether it's 50, whether it's 59, whether it's 59.95, that's pretty much an F. You know? So we're all the rest of them are Fs. I could do something like else if score is greater than or equal to 0, you know, and then say letter grade. I could do this right here, letter grade equals F. You know, that would be fine. But let's do this instead. I want to show you another piece of syntax. I'm going to erase this first line here. And instead of the else if, I'm just going to write an else, as long as I spell it correctly, and then do the brackets. So if we're reading this out, what it basically says is, if our score is at least 95, make it an A+. If it's not at least a 95, but it is greater than or equal to 90, make it an A. If it isn't at least 90, but it is at least 80, make it a B. If it's not at least 80, but it is at least 70, make it a C. If it is not at least 70, but it is at least 60, make it a D. And if none of the above, make it an F. So that else is like that else is like saying if none of the above. So you see how this is all just one continuous train of if and else ifs? That else is like the caboose of the train. It's the last one in there, and it just handles all other cases. You know, any other case that's possible is handled with an F. So let's go ahead and compile and run our code here, and let's just see what happens. So if I said I have an 88, I have a B. That sounds fine. What if I have a 45? Well, that's an F. How about a 65? D. Perfect. Let's say I got a 77. C. And let's say I got 101. A+. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now right there, we've at least gotten to the point where we have it working. But I want to push the envelope a little bit. How long has it been? 15 minutes. Alright, so In 15 minutes, we've gotten a working calculator, or working grade calculator. But I want to push the envelope a little bit more. I'm going to change something. I don't like that when I give it a 100, it gives me an A+. You know, like if I get a 99 and I get an A+, okay, I feel good about that. That's awesome. But I have 100. That's like the extra mile, isn't it? You know, that's a bit more special. I don't want just an A+. I want like something that just says perfection. You know, I want it to tell me that I'm perfection when I get 100. So I'm going to add that in to the very beginning. So I'm going to add that right back here. If my score is equal to 100. So, you know, if it is equal to 100, and notice how I did that equals? I did 2 equal signs in a row. That is our is equal to operator. All these things, the greater than or equal to, and if we had it less than or equal to, are all called operators. And this one is the equality operator. Checks for is equal to. So if our score is equal to 100, then I want to say that my letter grade is like perfection. I gotta spell it right too. Now, at that point, I'm going to change some more stuff here, of course. I need this if statement that has the 95 in it to be an else if statement. So that way, just in case, you know, I get 100, I don't want it to be perfection and then get changed to A+. Then we'll just have the problem we had at the beginning. Now I can compile that, and then I can run it. And if I put in 100, it's perfection. Alright, now here's where I want to make some changes. You see, I have this big, long train of conditional statements, but there is some stuff that I don't really like here. Usually, you don't get the following grades, things like a -6. I gave a -6 to a student, but that was because they didn't put their name on it, and it was a reminder to them to put their name on it, and then they got to turn it right back in for full credit. Yeah, by the way, for any of my students watching, when you turn in an assignment to me, then programming, you know how the class and the file name need to be the same? It gets hard if all my students have the same class name. I need you to put your name in that class name. Anyway, so I want to handle some stuff. If I have a -6, I don't think I really want that to be an F. Because let's imagine I put in, I was trying to put in 98, but I accidentally put a negative sign in front of it. Well, then it tells me F. Well, if I'm not really paying attention, I'm just going to write down F next to that student and go on to the next. And that's a problem. You don't really want such a small mistake like that to give you, you know, such a major issue. You want a mistake to be alerted. You know, you want an alert when there's a mistake. So here's what I'm going to do. Go down to that last conditional statement, the else, and we're going to do this. We're going to go just before it and make a new else if. Else if my score is less than 0. Alright, so if my score is less than 0, and less than again is just like the math one, then I want to say something like score is not valid. You know, it's a negative score. It's not a valid score. You don't give negative scores in class. That would just be awful. So I'm going to compile that. I'm going to run it, and now if I put in that -98, it's going to come up saying score is not valid. Well, while I might put an F down on a paper because I just saw an F and wrote it down, this is a lot more striking. I see this, and now all of a sudden I'm alerted to the fact that I put in the wrong score. And that would allow me to go, oh, shoot, let me retry that, and put in a 98 without a minus sign, and now it'll tell me that's an A+. Let me run it again. Now what if I put in 103? A+. Yeah, so here's our next one. Let's say I'm putting in scores, and I wanted to put in a 55, but I accidentally put in a third 5 there. Well, if I try and input that, I get A+, right? Yeah. So I'm going to look at the student who got a 55% and say, yep, A plus, super good job. I don't want that either. That's another invalid score. I want to be alerted when mistakes like that happen. If I really want to put in a 555, okay, then I'll write that down. I'll know. But in all other cases, this is probably an accident. So let's handle for that. So if my score is less than 0, or my score is greater than 100, I want to let them know that score is just not valid. So here's what I do. The OR operator is probably underneath your backspace. It's called this little pipe, and it's 2 of them in a row. Those are not I's. That's an I. These are not I's. This is what's called the pipe. If you see where you have your backslash, hold down that shift and press that button, and that's the pipe. You do 2 of them in a row, 2 pipes, that's OR. That is our OR operator. So if I say score is less than 0 or score is greater than 100, so that's read as else if score is less than 0 or score is greater than 100, then I'm going to let them know that the score is just not valid. So that then if I compile this and run it, if let's say I accidentally did that 555 again, ooh, that's true. So why did it do that? Think about that, take a moment. If we were in class, I would go ahead and open it up to the class and say, hey, what happened and all that. Instead, you guys are watching YouTube, so I'm going to change this around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to the very beginning of it, because here's what happens. We got the 555 being greater than or equal to 95, and then after that, since one of them was already true, we skip all the rest of the statements because they're all else's. Else makes us skip it. So what I'll do is I'll just move this up to the top. I'm going to cut everything except for the else. I'm going to remove that else. I'm going to go up to the top. Before the score equals 100, I'm going to do this if statement. I'm going to change this score equals 100 statement into an else if. So that way now I have if score is less than 0 or score is greater than 100, tell them that it is invalid. Otherwise, if it's 100, say it's perfection. Otherwise, if it's bigger than or equal to 95, it's an A+. Otherwise, if it's greater than or equal to 90, it's an A, so on and so forth. I'll compile this, and now you'll see 555 is an invalid score. -16 is invalid. 100 is perfection. 98 is an A+. 65 or 56 or 65. 65 is a D. Okay, as you can see, that works pretty well. That right there is a little grading program. We saw things like or, we saw less than, greater than, equal to, greater than or equal to. There's really just one thing that we didn't see, and that's the and keyword. And with how long this video is going, I'm going to go and just wrap it up with this. And is where you do the ampersand. That's the thing about the 7. It'd be just 2 of them in the same place. So instead of for and, use that instead of that. Alright? And so that's just the difference between the 2 of those. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've learned some stuff. And I'll see you in class.